Psychopaths and How to Spot Them, Part 2. So, like I was saying, people with the warrior gene brain need a lot of excitement. I mean, it is their lifeblood. And you know, there's not a lot of excitement in the average city unless you're going to stir up some trouble, stir up some dust, or cause excitement in some way. A lot of people get their excitement through things like astrophysics and wondering what it's like to float through space. And they're very good at math usually because they know a lot about, since they don't use their emotions, they depend primarily on their logic. And so they're very good at that kind of thing. Medicine, many of them get into that. And so anything that's mysterious, exciting, adventurous, and dangerous even, okay? You know, or at least the thought of it going out into outer space being dangerous, even though the astrophysicist is not necessarily going to go in outer space. He's just working on the numbers, you might say. Still, it's exciting. So, you know, they're going to head in those directions. They can head in some of the other directions I mentioned earlier with like mountain climbing or diving with sharks or anything else that's dangerous and exciting. But we don't have that in the city, okay? So then they start looking for other things. They will look for making trouble with people somehow. Now, bullying people is almost a no-risk situation, but it is illegal, particularly if you have a lot of people in on it, and then it can be seen as a conspiracy, and then you get into a whole different kind of court accusation at that point. But overall, you know, even though they can get in trouble, and there is that still amount of fear of trouble and excitement it stirs up, maybe not fear at all, but excitement, plus, you know, making people react to them, having power over people, that kind of thing, creates a whole new excitement, can still get their adrenaline rush going. So that's a problem, right? I mean, as long as they can keep it at work, like go ahead and, you know, think about flying to outer space, go swim with the sharks and take photographs of them, go mountain climbing and win a lot of money, win a prize, or, you know, write a book or about it, or, you know, do something. But when you take it home, the home is kind of by nature boring, okay? The home is boring and peaceful by nature. So there is a time, you know, and a place for things. That's why it's good to have a man cave, you know, maybe playing some war game on the you know, video player. It would be enough to get the adrenaline going, particularly if you're always trying to beat your last score. I think that's cool. Your last best score, trying to beat it, throws a little bit more adrenaline in the mix. But so now, unfortunately, you know, there are psychopaths who are for one reason or another raised poorly, or that they were in the hospital for extended stays and didn't get the nurturing they can get, didn't get the love, didn't get the nurturing. The love and the nurturing is real important for everybody. There are people with the psychopathic brain or the warrior gene brain that they like affection, okay? They like being kissed and hugged because that's what their mom did. So they're a very affectionate sort, you know? Lots of times they're thought of as being cold. Now, we might want to make a distinction here because there's a primary psychopath born with the warrior gene brain, and there's a secondary psychopath that was just created by its environment, whether it's being long-term hospitalized or you know, or abuse of parents or neglect. Even just neglect will do it. So neglect and maybe verbal abuse. That's enough to do it, okay, to throw some of these people off course. Well, other people fare just fine, and you wonder what happened. How come these people did fine and this guy went off crazy? Well, that guy could have had more of the warrior gene blood in him. And so, you know, want to use the excitement, thrill-seeking behavior to prey upon people and their assets and their reputation and whatever else they can prey upon people with. So they're still looking for the prey, but now there's really nothing dangerous out there for them to get, and unless they want to go out in the woods, I don't think they're going to do that, unless there was a lot of money involved in it. I mean, some of them do still. There's a lot of psychopaths who are hunters. So a lot of them still are predatory in the woods, and sometimes, unfortunately, they bring it back. And that's the main problem, is you got to keep the home, needs to be the domain of peace, quiet, tranquility. That is the domain of the home. It's not wartime at home. You know, it's like, yeah, there's nothing's going on here. It's boring as hell. You know? Good for the kids that way, a little stability, emotional stability. Also, I want to say that as long as the kids have love, it doesn't even matter if they're hungry sometimes, or you know, if you're short with them sometimes, or stressed or whatever. As long as you are loving them and protecting them and not handing them over to weirdos or whatever for babysitting jobs, then they will survive very, very well. And as long as you protect them, of course, against evils in the world. It doesn't matter how much money they have. They're still going to be emotionally fine, because love seems to be the magic key to, you know, well-being, human well-being. And so now there's a couple of things that you can look at when you want to assess whether somebody has a psychopathic genetic code or the warrior gene code. And that is one thing they seem to do a lot, is they will talk a lot and talk a lot and talk a lot when they're looking for when they're zoning in on their prey. Not necessarily talk a lot to the person they're going to bully, but they're going to talk a lot to people who they want to join them in their quest to bully the person. So when they're trying to feel someone out, they can pretty much size someone up. They'll you know, talk and talk and talk and talk. And a lot of the talk has to do with, poor me, she hurt my feelings, she did bad things, she hurt other people, he did this, he hurt my feelings. So it's a lot of crybaby stuff, a lot of boo-hoo, a lot of sob story, even from grown men that are 350 pounds and look burly as hell. I mean, the bigger they are, probably the more sorry you guys feel for them, or what. I don't know what it is. But the thing is that you know, so that's a huge major thing, to feel sorry for me, okay? So you're going to look for feel sorry for me. If somebody's coming up to you and trying to get your sympathy and wants you to feel sorry for them, you have to have something to do, okay? Because why would some stranger come up to you and start bitching, moaning, and complaining? I knew a friend of mine when I was very young, and we were out and about, and there was someone and a couple of guys he knew in the bar, and I said, "Hey Tom, how are you?" And he goes, "Oh, not too well. And they went, "Oh yeah, whatever," and they just turned around and kept talking to each other. They weren't going to fall for the, "Oh, what can I do to help you" thing. You know, the thing is, that's big crybaby stuff. People, they're complaining, they're pointing fingers, they're poor meing. Okay, you're going to know it by that. That's a big one. The second thing you're going to know that's also very big is revenge. No matter how well educated they are, no matter how smart they are, no matter what their religion is, no matter what their job is, and no matter how much money they all have a penchant for revenge. Now, depending on how well the person's raised, providing that you didn't drop them on their head when they were a baby or something, they will take that revenge out in what they would consider to be equal revenge. So, you know, James Fallon, I think is his name, Jimmy Fallon, self-proclaimed psychopath because he accidentally found paperwork on the scan of his brain. He was a neuroscientist as well. And you might want to check him out, you know. So he's on YouTube, Jimmy Fallon, self-proclaimed, I think he's a brain doctor of some kind. So, you know, the thing is that we're going to be able to find ways to placate them. But as far as Jimmy Fallon goes, he's well educated, very smart, working in astrophysics, married since he was 15 years old, has kids, everybody seems to be well adjusted, everything is fine, and he's a pure, flat out psychopath in his brain study, okay? And people he knows know that he doesn't really care about other people, but because of the way he was raised, it was like, Wrong, right. This is why it's wrong. Got to explain it out to them. Makes sense. This is why it's right. Explain it out to them. Makes sense. They're not going to get feelings. Don't talk about feelings. They're more talking about fairness with the earth, and everybody has to be fair to each other. It balances out with the earth fairness, however you want to do it. But this guy, James Fallon, he went and he broke the legs of some bullies. He says he hates bullies, and he himself has a psychopathic brain, and he says he hates bullies. So it was like, well, did you think that was too much? And he goes, why? It was just balancing out the universe. I'm balancing things out. I'm balancing out the universe. No, I didn't think it was wrong. So he talks about that when he was a kid. He did it, okay, when he was much younger, probably teens or 20s. And so I think that a lot of them believe that as well. I mean, you can have serial killers who feel justified, because there's something bad that happened to them in childhood. Now everybody has to pay, and they're overbalancing, okay? So depending on the type of childhood or environment that the warrior gene person has is going to depend a lot on what kind of revenge they take out. So, you'll know them also and they're not going to talk about their revenge, by the way. Okay, so they might not talk about their revenge. So you might not know it until they do it to you, but you can ask around. I mean, you can try to find their ex-girlfriends or whatever. Those are the two major things, though. So someone who's looking for revenge and doing poor me parties. And boy, they're good talkers. They are such good talkers. Psychiatrists don't even know they're talking to them on occasion. Psychologists don't even know. Even when they're in there to be evaluated for whether or not they have psychopathy. Okay? So, and we know because we can do the brain scans now. So if a guy has a brain scan and says he's a psychopath, and they don't tell the psychologist, they just send the guy in there and see what the psychologist makes out of it. Psychologist says, nope, not a psychopath. Well, there you go. Proof, okay? But a lot of talking, a lot of glibness, a lot of blah, 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 okay? And so I think there might be something else here. Let me check and see what I have. Also know that these people are unfettered by their emotions, so they can size up situations pretty easily. They can size up people pretty easily because they don't have those pesky emotions nagging at them, And they know it too. They'll tell you, I don't have those pesky emotions nagging at me like you guys. They know they don't have those feelings. They feel they hold them back anyway. That's why they feel like they're smarter. So I think basically if someone's going to be a dangerous psychopath, they're going to start really early, like the killing of the animals. Everybody's heard of that. Also, they'll start beating up people early in their lives, or, they'll get in some kind of weird trouble early on that, is known to social workers or teachers or law enforcement. So it's not that they're invisible, but so the thing is, you have to know that you got the right person there, driver's licenses, Google their phone numbers, whatever. But when you're making sure when you're checking up on somebody, if you're feeling funny, trust your gut feelings and, do a search. Why not? And so, domestic battery is obviously not always associated with psychopathy, but can be because it's a form of bullying. You're beating on somebody who's less powerful than you and weaker. So easy game, easy game, don't like it. And that's the weird thing about these guys is that when we talk about psychopathy, we talk about people who are heroic, that want to actually go out and fight scary things, not fight something lesser than themselves, whose butt you can kick anyway. It's not even a challenge, So going out to fight scary things, that's their job. But somehow it gets all messed up. Their aggression is taken out in some other way. They get their adrenaline rush from beating up on people. Somehow. I'm not sure if they think, it's against the law and they're afraid of doing it, or maybe it's in the moment and they pick up the person who's feeling the fear and upset is transferring energy to them in some way, that they're getting off on watching the person cry and be upset and get their adrenaline going, and it transfers, like, I see you having your adrenaline going, now my adrenaline's going, so... but, the cure to that, of course, start giving them adrenaline shots, okay? They all get adrenaline shots from now on. And then, or you can take them and put them in, a place where there's a lot of game of some kind. You want them to get rid of the game because it's overcrowding the environment or eating all the horses or whatever. So, you send them out and into a dangerous territory. Maybe you can teach them how to go deep sea diving and go swim with some sharks and tag them. I don't know. I think that would be exciting enough for them, and they're thought of as being cowards, and so I don't think that's necessarily true. It's just that they're getting their adrenaline secondhand. Getting secondhand adrenaline instead of doing it themselves. And I don't know if they've been tested as to whether they're secondary psychopaths or primary psychopaths. Maybe only the secondary psychopaths do that. I think we'd have to do the brain scans on both types and see. But so that is how you're basically going to know. Those are the two. Now the Cleckleys, as I said in one of the last videos, was the 15 attributes of a psychopath, and I've included thrill seeking, because of course want to get the adrenaline going, anything that gets the adrenaline going. A lot of talk, glibness, charm, very charming, because when they want something from you, they're going to charm you somehow, some way. It's like a snake, okay? Snake moving its head back and forth, and you're getting sucked in, you're getting charmed, whatever they're saying, you're getting sucked in. And so, just hypnotized by it. And they know how to do it because they've been doing it all their lives. This is how they got out of trouble when they were children, and they've been practicing this for maybe decades by the time you meet them. But there are still a lot of, like James Fallon, the one I spoke of earlier, there's a lot of really good people, I think he's an astrophysicist, who are, they might not be, they're not dangerous people, and they have stayed married for decades and have children and so on and so forth, and do good work in their field, and they're funny and fun to be with, but everybody knew there was something a little off about them because they were more selfish. They didn't care about going to the funerals. They wanted to go to the parties, So everything always had to be up, up, up. And they were just more selfish. That would be more fun for them to go to the parties than go to a funeral, so they would go to the party. So that's it, though. That's all that they would, could pin on him. It's not like he was a serial killer. He did say he did seek revenge, and he would wait for years to do it, but he would only do it in equal measure to what was done to him. It wouldn't be this long, drawn-out 30 years of horrifically abusing somebody because they did one thing. It wouldn't be like that with him. So he somehow along the line learned the idea of balance and fairness, and by some people's perceptions, he might seem to go overboard, but not like what we see with serial killers or anything, just a little bit overboard, okay? Not even killing anyone. But he will balance out the universe, and if he sees fit, you purposely screw with him and go after him, it's coming back at you, okay? And I think that's how it is with all of them, apparently. I think a lot of psychologists agree that one of the number one, psychiatrists too, and the number one thing about psychopaths is that they will take revenge. And that is obviously, since they're all doing it, then we look at the functionality of that. What is it in that? Well, if you're out fighting a fire-breathing dragon and it breathes fire on you but doesn't kill you, but causes a lot of pain, you're going to want to take revenge on it, and you're going to be that much more angry, and you're going to be that much more full of adrenaline, and you're going to be that much more sure-footed and quick-footed and possibly slay that dragon, okay? Whether the dragon's a fire, the dragon is a shooter, the dragon is a enemy combatant, whatever it is. So that concludes, for now, this presentation. Thank you so much. If you feel like doing a thumbs up or leave a comment, go ahead, and just keep it nice, I think. Yeah, because I need a lot of nice, basically. And once things start to get dark, I immediately check out, okay? I can't, my heart cannot take it. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk again. Talk again at a later date.